my channel, Naturally Beautiful Girl. I first want to start off by saying that, at least at the time I'm filming this, it feels a bit odd to be sitting down and just talking about makeup because of what's currently going on in the world. And I want to say that I am sitting down and filming this video because I, like many other people, are trying to strike a balance between staying informed and helping any way that I can, and also trying to protect my mental health as well. So if you are like, you need a little bit of a break and just to hear some lighthearted talk about makeup, go ahead and watch. If you're able to keep informed, do what you can to help, and you are able to do that, please go ahead and do that. I feel like I needed to mention that before just jumping into applying makeup like everything is fine in the world, because it's not. Today, I'm continuing on in my series where I give my honest thoughts on new makeup. There's going to be like a second part to this very soon because there have just been so many makeup launches recently. I have the new translucent powder. I am trying this out. The problem is that a couple of foundations launched at the same time, and it's like almost impossible to test a new setting powder with a foundation because you can't figure out what's doing what. So I've been focusing on testing foundations, and then I'm going to move on to testing a setting powder. But what I am going to do today is talk to you about the new Kosas Revealer Skin Improving Foundation. This is SPF 25. It does use a physical sunscreen, not a chemical sunscreen. And I'm going to be applying it side by side on my face with the Tower28 Sunny Days foundation, because I feel like out of all the most recent launches, these are the most similar in that they both are SPF foundations. Obviously, there have been a lot of skin tint products released recently. Like, it's just been flooded. Like, I don't know, for some reason, it's like the skin tint era at the moment. But I wanted to compare these two side by side. I did do a side by side wear test yesterday. And surprisingly, the shades were not completely off. I'm also going to be talking about the new LYS Beauty Concealer as well. So this is really going to be a complexion focused honest thoughts on makeup, but let's go ahead and just roll right in. So I'm going to start off with the Kosas foundation. I'm going to put the Kosas on this side of my face, and I'm going to put the Tower28 on this side of my face so you can see what we're dealing with. So I have the lightest shade in the Kosas foundation. It's the very light neutral shade 100. And as we all know, Kosas complexion products run yellow, and there's no exception to this foundation. It definitely pulls a bit yellow. However, what I have found is that the coverage is on the sheer enough side where I can make it work. Like, if this were a full coverage foundation and it were the shade, might not be ideal, but we can make this work. Like, I find it to be neutral enough. So I'm going to use a brush to blend this out. It's been my preferred way to do this. Here is what it looks like on the right side of my face. I have oily skin, and we are in the middle of winter, and this happens to me all the time. I have a little bit of dryness on my face just because it is winter. But I want to say the finish is pretty nice. It's not overly glowy. It's not like the Stay Beauty skin tint, which is just too glowy for me. It is way too glowy. Also, the LYS Super Serum Skin Tint is much glowier and dewier on me, so this is a bit more calm. I feel like it provided a nice level of coverage. It certainly is more than something like the Rose Ink foundation, which I talked about in my last video. I'll link that up above, but that really provides basically no coverage. So I feel like I have a very good level of coverage, and it is a pretty natural foundation. So now I'm going to go ahead and apply the Tower28 Sunny Days skin tint. I have this in the shade 05 Fairfax. This is the lightest shade of the foundation as well. I'm going to apply it to this side of my face. Also, in case you haven't been following along, this has been my favorite new foundation I discovered. Obviously, there have been some new launches, but up until this point, it had been my standout favorite foundation. As you can see, the shade is definitely a bit more on the pink side compared to the Kosas. I would say, if anything, this one runs a little bit more pink. I feel like this shade, if I had to pick my ideal shade, is a better shade match for me. And I am using my fingers to rub this in. I've been doing that. You can also use a brush, but I don't know. For some reason with the skin tint, I got into using my fingers with it, and that is what I'm going to do today. I'm trying to blend this a little bit in the middle of my forehead so I don't just, in the middle of my face, I don't just have like a line down the middle of my face here. So I feel like the level of coverage is very similar. Like it's, I would say, pretty comparable. You could probably build up the Kosas a little bit more if you wanted to, but I applied it in a way where I feel like the level of coverage is pretty even on both sides of my face, which is good for this video. I don't have like two entirely different levels of coverage. But here's where the main difference comes in. We'll see if this is going to show up well on camera, but I find the Tower28 foundation to be a little bit more matte and the Kosas to be a little bit more dewy. I think you can see when I kind of move my head back and forth, at least in a viewfinder, I'm able to see it. The side looks a little bit more glowy and the side looks a little bit more matte. So what that means in my opinions on the foundation. The Kosas now works really well during the winter. However, I think as we move into warmer weather, we're moving into spring, eventually into summer, I probably am really going to be relying on the Tower28 sunny days because when I was in Florida and I wore that, that foundation held up super well in warm weather and humidity. So that's going to be something I'm going to want to use in that time of year. I think the Kosas is going to work well in the winter months and fall and early spring for me, but I'm not sure it's going to hold up as well during the hotter months just because it is a little bit more of a glowy foundation. And I found that right now when I wear them, I did the side-by-side wear test, they wore about the same. They both wore quite well on me. I didn't have a lot of bunching, creasing, splitting. And at the end of the day, my level of oiliness was about the same on both sides of my face. But I just know my skin and I know that when I'm trying to put a more glowy foundation on my skin and wear it during the summer months, not always the best outcome. My thoughts are if you have drier or more normal skin, the Kosas foundation may work really well for you year round. But if you are like me and you have a little bit more of an oily skin, I would probably recommend the Tower28 over the Kosas. Not that the Tower28 is matte, but it's like I can touch it and it feels set. Like I have worn the Tower28 skin tint without setting it, which I like never, ever do with a foundation, and it was fine. But this one, like when I touched my face, it's still like a little bit on the tackier side, and I know that if I didn't set this, this would just like run around my face and be a big mess. I also should mention that the Kosas foundation comes in a glass tube, which feels super luxe. The upper foundation swatches the Tower28, the lower is the Kosas. You can definitely see the difference in undertones of those two foundations. So now we're gonna move on to the new LYS concealer. I obviously love the LYS beauty packaging. I'm glad that they also went for a triangular shaped concealer. It's cool. I actually like this a lot. I mean, it seems kind of like a bulky thing to store, but it's actually really nice. I have a drawer in my vanity, and because it kind of sits on its side like this, it doesn't roll. Like, kind of ingenious. Like, it doesn't roll away from you because it's got a flat side to sit on. This is the shade LG1, which is the lightest shade. And I believe, if I remember, oh, here's my foundation. I believe it is the same, yes, same shade as the foundation. So these are both LG1. Okay, so here's the concealer. It's got a doe foot applicator. I'm gonna go ahead and dab this under my eyes, like this. This concealer is very lightweight. Like it feels very light. It's very liquidy. It's not heavy. It's not creamy, like overly creamy and heavy. It's like a lightweight concealer, very kind of serum-y, if that makes sense. I'm going to take my Clove & Hallow Precision Buffer Concealer brush to blend this out. I have tried blending out the concealer with my fingers. I found that using a brush does work a lot better. Also, the Clove & Hallow brushes are like completely slept upon. They are amazing brushes. If you are in the market for some brushes, check out the Clove & Hallow brushes. I really like this one. I love the foundation. I use their foundation brush like all the time. Didn't use it today because it's dirty and I need to clean it, but like pretty much on a daily basis, I use that brush. And then also they have a really nice eyeshadow brush. I just feel like it's kind of an underrated product. I'm going to zoom you in so you can see a little bit better what my under eyes look like. Well, hopefully anyway. Okay. Wow, we are really zoomed in. Okay, so I do have the concealer blended out under my eyes. Here's my thoughts on it. It's okay, but I'm not the biggest fan. Like, it's not my favorite concealer. The shade is really good. We can see I'm actually brightened under my eyes. It doesn't look dark. I always talk about this, but it's really hard when you have super fair skin to find concealers that are light enough. A lot of times they look kind of dark under your eyes in terms of the shade, not the dark circles, but in terms of the shade of the concealer. And this looks appropriate in terms of brightening. However, I find that because it is such a lightweight concealer, I would say the coverage on it is like a medium coverage. It's not a full coverage concealer. I would say the Kosas Revealer Concealer has a lot more coverage. So does the Rose Ink Concealer. And I just kind of like a little bit more of a full coverage concealer because I can get some pretty dark circles under my eyes. I think especially because my skin is so fair. Also, I haven't found that it's worn the best throughout the day. I use my 14E setting powder, which is my ride or die setting powder. And I find that it's creasing. It just doesn't want to set quite as well. So for all those reasons, it's fine, but it's just not like what I am looking for in a concealer. I'm going to go ahead, set my face, set my concealer, finish the rest of my makeup, and then so you can see everything all put together. I am back. I have finished the rest of my makeup, so I wanted to sit down and kind of wrap up my thoughts. So I did go ahead and set under my eyes with the 14E setting powder. I'm going to zoom in a moment to show you what my under eyes look like currently. I also did set my face using the Kosas Cloud Set Powder. That's my go-to setting powder during the winter. I've mentioned this many times. It doesn't hold up well for me during the summer because my skin is way too oily. However, during the winter, it is like a magical setting powder. So the Kosas foundation side of my face is more dewy, even with setting it. I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but I did take my mirror and really look at it. And when I did that, even with setting my face, you could still see that it is more glowy, which for the winter, I'm not mad about. However, I know that during the summer, something a little bit more matte is just gonna hold up better. So I still hold that Tower28 for me is probably going to be my ride or die, continue to be. I am going to use the Kosas foundation. I do like it. And I think there are many of you who will like it better than the Tower28. But for me and what I'm, my oily skin and what I'm looking for, the Tower28 is the way to go. I also should mention that their SPF levels, the Tower28 actually is an SPF 30, so it's a little bit higher SPF, and the Kosas is SPF 25. So let me zoom you in quickly and show you under my eyes. I did set with the 14E setting powder, but I don't know if you can see, but it's already creasing under my eyes. And I like literally just set it and I tapped out the creases before setting it. But that's what I mean. That's kind of the issue I have with this concealer is I feel like it's not really setting. Like it's not quite cutting it for me. I don't know if you can see that. And also when I set it, it just, I don't know. I don't like it. It just doesn't look quite right. Here, let me zoom you back out. We don't need to stare at me that close. Okay. There we go. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on it. It's just not my favorite concealer. In my opinion, there are just better ones out there. I also should mention, I did pick up the Fit Glow foundation. I have worn this literally once. And I was like, it's a very different beast than these other foundations. It's not a skin tint. It is definitely a little bit more of a higher coverage foundation. So I figured I'll continue testing that. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I know there's been a lot of questions about these foundations, so hopefully this is helpful. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel, click the bell button so you're notified, and of course, come follow me on Instagram. I'm at naturallybeautifulgirlkat there. Post some reels, some other fun content, so be sure to follow me on there. And yeah, just thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of the people around you, and I will see you next time. Bye.